I think we're live. This is a share from Jeffery Van L. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your last name. And this is beyond exceptional, what you have done. A great example of a showcase. He's titled it History Revisited, Challenge for a Civilized Society. So I thought we'd have a little look. Thanks for being here. God bless and welcome. I think I'll block out his contact information, but he says this document contains a random selection of rare photos, images, and ideas I collected in the past few years, all related to history, archaeology, geology, ancient civilizations, and technology. Inspired by many, I hope together we can put more pieces of the puzzle in place. Thanks to all the great minds whose independent research I'm able to follow and watch online. Enjoy. Again, thank you, Jeffrey. And here we can see a picture of him and some of his family members. And no doubt, he gets around. We see a melted castle here, cart ruts, more structures, cathedrals, looks like Devil's Tower. Here, some of the most ancient ruins, foundational ruins, foundation of the realm, that is. And this is old construction, right down to the river. And perhaps the river wasn't meant to be a river, it's just flooded in now. So here is a little breakdown. The province of Limburg in the Netherlands. We have some Germany, New York, some star forts in Russia, South Carolina, nubs, etc. So here we see the province of Limburg in the Netherlands, a star city, and we can see the complexity left over. Oftentimes one fort will remain, but here in the Netherlands much is still exposed of the original footprint. And apparently there's a tunnel system, 750 kilometers in total, or 470 miles. And here we can see a map of this tunnel system. Unbelievable. And is it really a tunnel system? Or are they just completely buried cities, buried structures? And here we get a little idea of what this looks like underground. Unbelievable. And no doubt, built by a super race. This is beyond anything. When architecture begins to look like geology, or geology begins to look like architecture, we're dealing with something so serious. We are so clueless. Even in this community, with everything we know and understand, what can we make of a 400 miles? In my car, it would take me the better part of a day and maybe a little bit of evening to drive 470 miles. And here we have tunnels that look like this. Really kind of scary, actually, because when you realize this, there's also the potential for some remaining inhabitants deep within. I mean, how much of this is really explored? Here we have a map, but this is an old map. Most people today are not exploring all of this, and probably not allowed. All the accesses have been barred off. As we can see here, here is the outside of it. So what a great showcase already. Thank you again, Jeffrey. This is mind-blowing, the way you've organized it so beautifully. I see where it is, what it looks like from above, what old maps show, what it looks like on the inside and the outside, gated off. So much access that the gates are just cheap. In national parks, I believe they just cement over them and make them look natural. But out here, we just get this cheap fencing. And no doubt, this is what the Grand Canyon is made of. This is exactly what is described by the early explorations that were reported in the papers in the early 1900s. Complex block cave systems. And these are just the ruins. How beautiful must have all of this looked in its glory. And here we are in a region called Maastricht. And here we can see the complex old world map. And here we can see it today. Unbelievable. And I don't believe this is carved. I mean, especially when we see the blockage like this. Perhaps it's been carved afterwards. And no doubt, most of the quarries throughout the realm are simply structures like this. All of them. It makes no sense that somebody would come in and quarry in this fashion. The Caves of Maastricht, also known as the Caves of Mount St. Peter, or the Maastricht Underground, are a collection of limestone quarries. So here we go, limestone quarries in the Netherlands. The origins that date back to the 13th century. So come on, in the 13th century, or 14th, or 15th, or 16th, who cares now? Nobody is quarrying like this. They were originally dug to mine chalk. In total, a network of 20,000 tunnels were cut into the stone. I'm in the 13th century. What do you need all this chalk and lime for? And 8,000 of the 20,000 tunnels are still intact. So what happened to them? A bird just flew into the window. And just look at this city. I mean, this would be completely advanced today. All of this. And this is just our unknown history. Must be another little look around on the outside. Again, that same wall. So now you understand when you see a wall like this. All the walls around the Niagara Falls look like this. And even the walls around major dams resemble this. Of course, Niagara Falls is a dam. But you've seen this before. So here we have Valkenburg, another star fort with a cooked out mound on top, clearly just a cooked part of the building. And look at this thing, in Holland. And here again we see a map of the underground up here in the corner. Super complex tunnel network, and these people living on top of it all. At least they kept this ruin. They probably tried to destroy it and failed. And when you realize how much tunnelage is underneath all of this, you might just make a bigger mess removing the structure. Now just having a big hole. And here's a look at the inside. Unbelievable. These people on a tour, just mind blown. Or maybe not. Maybe just swallowing up the narrative and being comfortable with all of this. And here a look at ancient times. I mean, you would have to light a little fire. And here they have horse and donkeys and little carts, little hand carts, toting out whatever. And no way are these mines, not when we have ruins like this, what were clearly beautiful structures in their heyday. Here again in Netherlands, we see a star fort, and in fact a whole line of star forts. What it shows is they're all built by the same people intentionally. And here we can see it says canal and star forts. So this must be a canal. Here's another map showing it all. We see a castle and just a whole slew of star forts, now all in ruins. And these must just be the access points. And any glory that once existed underground, like we're told in the Grand Canyon expeditions, will have been removed and pillaged and destroyed. But we're told the insides were filled with Egyptian artifacts, gold, and absolute beauty. And there has been ample time to remove all of this. So here's Fort Hasput, and it's just totally buried now. It's just a mound with trees growing on it. Unrecognizable. Nature is not nature. It's like the old show, the old video, there are no forests. There are no forests. These are just little twigs. These are just like weeds. All of our trees are like young, less than 200-year-old baby forests, consisting of small young trees. We have no old forests, lending to a recent reset. And there are pockets of old forests, some in Japan, some in California, but these are not it. Most of what we see is young. Other Dutch forts. Here we can see an old map, and look how meticulous. Once again, lending to the idea that these maps and the mapping of these maps was done by the builders of these forts. Not only could our people not construct all of this, they certainly could not map it even. And most certainly because the bulk of it is underground. And here we can see a little tour looking at the Starfort corner with some buildings on top of it now. The foundation of the realm. And here again we see the foundation of the realm and the cheap apartments, or whatever this is. Unbelievable. And this is everywhere. Every single city and town has an underrealm. In some cases, as little as 3 feet underground. And here's what this city would have looked like before apartments. It's something out of a fairy tale. And this is our past. This is the truth. Look how people were living. And we don't even understand this. I mean, there'd be no need for this section right here, or these little sections, unless they had a function. Unless this was all working as tech. And this is just the surface. Can you imagine all of this underground as we started the video off with? Construction, 1220, lasted until 1340. The largest cathedral in Holland. Here we go. Here an old picture, the poverty in the streets, the little wooden fence someone has put up. Here a little wood. And essentially a Starfort corner. Here you can see a concrete type polymer wall. The Cathedral St. Jan. And here we can see Germany. This is excellent because we can see ruins even in this old depiction. But yet we see more back then than we do today. Here's today. They've destroyed the whole castle, but yet built on a intentional foundation. And the foundation remains. Here she is, and a modern, cheap little house in the corner here. And here we go. Festung Königstein in Germany. And you can see that all of these would have been structures. Even in this old depiction that shows us more than present day, everything is already cooked out and in ruins. And I believe everything was structure before these castles were put on top. We're dealing with 2 eras of wipeout here. And here again, an old map showing us the schematics for this city machine. So here we go. Really lending to utilities again, but everything. Utilities, living, power production, beauty and harmony. Nothing neglected. And here we can see the foundation again. I mean, come on. Nothing natural about this supposed stone. Look at these angles. This is completely intentionally formed. And we can see from above here. And I should just mention I'm having a ball. It's fun to essentially work as a team. And here we can see all of that again. All these mesas, these German mesas, like we see in the southwest of North America. Not mesas. And here's approximately where all this is, in the southeast corner of Germany. Here again, an old picture of how unbelievable all of this was, and what's left today. And even with the ruins, there's been absolute doctoring. Look how all of the bricks have been used to fill in these arches. Unbelievable. So you can see what this must have looked like. This like some super aqueduct at one point, and then bricked up long ago with the same brick, the same ancient brick. And these are his own photos, in parentheses, Jeffrey's. Yeah, we would be hard pressed to find a lot of these photos, especially on the fly. And we can see how they have applied cement and reinforcements in modern times over the brick. You can see it clearly here. And here's some more of these arches, faintly seen. And they've put little windows in. Again, long ago. Reset after reset here. Royal Palace on the Dam, Amsterdam. And we can see underneath, they've had to shore a lot of these foundations up in Amsterdam with all the water, as if the water was not supposed to flow in a lot of the places that it did post-reset. They tell us it was originally built on 13,000 piles, but I think this may have been an afterthought. Here we can see them digging up these posts. And you see here, I think that they're actually adding a lot of this wood. And we see old stone here. And it just looks like the wood is an afterthought. Same here. And here's a railway station. Look at this super tech, dual tech on these babies. More Amsterdam, built on wood. And look at the complexity. Unbelievable. Zigzaggy canals. It's not enough just to have a canal. And look at this old world and these inheritors. And things looking almost identical today, thank God. Much preservation here. Look at this beautiful tech up here. So futuristic. Our past. Again, Amsterdam. Look at the layout of this city. And I went once when I was 18. I loved it. He shows a comparison with a spider's web. Up here we see Amsterdam in this pattern. And then we also see Palmanova, Italy, with this super pattern. Look at the complexity. This may be the town I was showing in my last video. How interesting. And the tower was gone. It was just a stupid little unkept hub. And yeah, ask yourself if this would even be possible way back. Of course the answer is no. And super cool that he's highlighted that the web is electrically conductive, which causes the silk threads to spring out to trap their quarry, as flying insects tend to gain a static charge, which attracts the silk. Yeah, this is a pattern of nature, and nature holds the greatest intelligence. And yet this old world, these old map makers and builders understood this intelligent design, following in the wisdom of nature. And here we see a close-up of this blockage, and he has tool marks and question mark. And I don't know, I see this everywhere as well. I'm sure you do too. I don't know what would be more difficult, carving these blocks, hauling them, quarrying them, or pouring them out of a concrete or polymer blend. All impossible. All beyond what an early people should require and desire to live a good life. And I love this when they tore this baby down. Some type of crystal palace. Here, a building in ruins. A nice, sturdy building. And what is this date? MDC OCXLV? I'm not sure. Seems like a crazy date, if you can decipher that. Here we see a railway station in the means of the people. Look at these people. They're stupid little carts. I mean, these carts are suitable for hauling milk and maybe children. Worthless is what I'm saying. And here, interestingly, he points to this apparatus, this wooden crane for these times, and it's still here in this old picture. Very good observation. And again, another picture of the Crystal Palace in the background. Now we go to New York, or New Amsterdam. Starfort on the corner, and of course Starfort under the Lady or Man of Liberty. And look at the condition of this, even in this early time, all these old brick buildings. So no doubt, I mean, this was a star city. The island was part of it, and repurposed into a tourist destination. And I love this one. We can see this is in Russia, provided by Sylvie of New Earth. Hello, Sylvie. And look at that. So now they're farming, but the wall is poking through. And here we can see some massive walls. And I've shown you this in New Mexico. Miles and miles of wall with little inlets like this. And everything has yet to be excavated. You could see now people start digging and we find blockage. Nothing is natural. And here we can see that they're drilling along this wall, which is what I see in my area. I live in big oil country, and they know. Somebody knows on the top. I don't think that the average workers know anything. But somebody has sent them here. And I take full advantage of their roads that they make that lead me to a lot of these ruins. Really cool. I'm glad he brought that up. Here again in my last video, The World from Above, or I'm not sure what I titled it. Here we see racetracks. This is great. I wish I would have had these to inject. They would have helped my point in my last video. But yeah, here's a racetrack. And obviously they're not racetracks, but they turn them into tracks. Here's one. Here's a star fort. Plug hole. Plug hole. And no doubt they are really reminding me of big oil today. These look like utilities. I mean, I don't know how many times I've said it, but all connecting. And here we just have circles. Sometimes they turn these into farming. They'll put a pivot wheel. But here we have the imprint of another one right above it. And in many populated places, I think they just fly over with an airplane and just dump seeds or plant them to cover a lot of this up. Here we have a fort. We've looked at this before, maybe in the Middle East. And while it looks like it's getting flooded over, somebody dug into this way back, and it's actually the opposite. Google can be tricky. It's the opposite. It's like this is actually sloughed off, and this is like a canyon right here, as opposed to a mountain. And we can see ruins down here. We can see all kinds of remains of cities, which I had not noticed before, right here as well. I'm not sure if that's coming in. And here we can see that location again. All kinds of things around it. So here's that location. And Jeffrey, you really kicked ass. I can't stress that enough. So here we can see the location up in the corner, and this mess of circuitry down here. Almost looking Peruvian. Oh cool, I didn't know I could do this. Anyway, and look at this. Bricks and blocks poking out in this wasteland. Very encouraging, because this looks like my desert, and this is what I'm always looking for, Chief and I. And I know we'll find more, and you will too. And now we're in South Carolina, USA. Look at these clamps. Excellent. We rarely get to see clampage, lending to the idea that this was poured. And I've been wanting to experiment with clampage. And these blocks looking what we would call Richardsonian, what they would call Richardsonian. And this is all ancient in South Carolina. A channel called Our Melted Reality shows excellent boots on the ground in this part of the world. And here we go. Look at this cooked out wall, which is a dam. And look at this old pipage, clearly coming later, but lending to the absolute certainty that this is all utility ruins. And you have to be a very advanced civilization to have utilities like this way back. And you have to have more than horse and buggy to create infrastructure like this. Like this amphitheater. Here again, an amphitheater. Does it make any sense that an amphitheater would be out in the middle of nowhere? No. It's part of the tech. And here we see clamps all over the world. Cambodia, Iran, Greece, Tunisia, Peru. But yeah, we just saw them in America. And here's a great example of clamps in China. So cool. Look at this tech in Korea. We would be told it's a temple, both of them. And they say this is the oldest bridge in China. So the oldest bridge in China is so advanced. Look, even ornamentation, even flares. And here in Japan, same clamps, same builders, same civilization, all over the world. And this is really interesting because this Buddha reminds me of the Vatican, the kind of key layout. And I think I'll have to finish this showcase on another day. And this is one, simply one out of many that you sent me. And I thank everyone for sending me their beautiful research. And I hope to go through all of it. Here we see nubs. And perhaps with Jeffrey's permission, I can put this on my website so everyone can go through it with a fine-tooth comb. But for now, I think I'll just leave it there. This has been absolutely a wonderful exploration. And I think part 2 is going to be even juicier from what I'm seeing in these photos. So for today, I thank you for joining me. I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you next week.